Olivia Brennan stood in the doorway of her corner office, arms crossed, watching Marcus Reed gather his things at exactly 525. 4 years she had worked in this building, and 4 years she had watched this man leave at the same time, every single day without fail. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Tonight something in her snapped. Why won't you date? The question left her mouth before she could stop it. Marcus froze, his hand on the door handle. 4 years, Marcus, not once. Everyone talks about it. What are you hiding? He turned slowly, and for the first time, Olivia saw something flicker behind those calm grey eyes. Not anger, not defensiveness, just a weariness so deep it seemed to have no bottom. You really want to know? Olivia nodded, her heart suddenly pounding. She had no idea that his answer would shatter everything she thought. She understood about love, about sacrifice, about the promises people make and the ones they actually keep. 6 months earlier, Olivia Brennan had walked into Brennan and Associates, financial group as its youngest CFO in company history. The nameplate on her door felt like both an achievement and an accusation. Her father had built this firm from nothing. And now at 31, she was expected to prove that his retirement was a transition rather than a surrender. The first week she buried herself in performance reports. Numbers never lied. Numbers never whispered behind your back about nepotism or questioned whether you had earned your seat at the table. She reviewed every department, every team lead, every analyst, searching for patterns that would help her understand the machine she now commanded. That was when she first noticed Marcus Reed. His file was remarkable in its consistency. 4 years of flawless performance reviews, not a single error in his quarterly reports. Client satisfaction ratings that consistently ranked in the top 3% of the entire company. He was the kind of employee that firms fought to recruit and competitors tried to poach. Yet he had declined every promotion offered to him. 3 times he had been recommended for team lead. 3 times he had politely refused. Olivia called him into her office on a Tuesday afternoon. He arrived exactly on time, neither early nor late, and sat across from her with the patient stillness of a man who had learned to wait. Mr. Red, I've been reviewing your file. She kept her voice professionally neutral. You're one of our strongest performers. Why have you turned down every leadership opportunity? Marcus met her eyes without flinching. I prefer to leave at 5:30. The team lead position requires more hours. Olivia leaned forward, genuinely puzzled. In her world, ambition was oxygen. Everyone wanted to climb. Everyone wanted more. Most people would kill for these opportunities. Why don't you want to advance? Not everyone, Miss Brennan. His voice was calm, almost gentle. Some of us have already found what we're climbing toward. She had dismissed him then, frustrated by his cryptic answer and his apparent lack of drive. But his words lingered in her mind like a splinter she could not quite remove. What Marcus Reed climbed toward became clear at 5:32 that same evening. He pulled out of the parking garage and merged onto the evening traffic, a steady flow of red taillights leading away from the city's heart. Olivia, driven by a curiosity she couldn't name, found herself following him. It was unprofessional, she knew, but something about his quiet defiance called to her. She kept a discreet distance as his car wove through the streets, leaving the glittering downtown behind for a quieter, tree-lined suburb. After 20 minutes, he turned into the driveway of a modest but well-kept house. Olivia parked down the street, watching as Marcus emerged from his car, not with the tired slump of a man ending his workday, but with a purposeful energy. He walked to the front door, but instead of entering, he turned toward the side garden where an elderly woman sat in a wheelchair, a blanket across her lap. Even from a distance, Olivia could see the transformation in Marcus. His shoulders, usually so stiff and formal, relaxed. He knelt beside the woman, taking her hand in his, and his face, so often an impassive mask, softened into a smile of such tenderness that it stole Olivia's breath. She sat in her car for a long time, watching as he gently pushed the wheelchair inside, the light from the doorway framing them in a warm glow. The next day, Olivia couldn't focus. The image of Marcus and the elderly woman haunted her. During a break, she casually asked HR about Marcus's emergency contact or next of kin. The file listed Eleanor Reed, his mother, as his dependent. A few more discreet inquiries revealed that Eleanor had advanced multiple sclerosis and required full-time care. Marcus was her sole caregiver. The pieces fell into place with a quiet, profound thud. His punctual departures, his refusal of promotions, his lack of social life. It wasn't a lack of ambition. It was a different kind of ambition altogether. He was climbing toward keeping a promise, toward honoring a love that demanded everything. That evening, Olivia waited until 5:25 again. When Marcus gathered his things, she stepped out of her office. "I followed you home yesterday," she said bluntly, her voice softer than she intended. "I saw her." "Your mother." Marcus stopped, his back to her for a moment before he turned. His eyes were guarded but not surprised. "Why?" "Because I couldn't understand," Olivia admitted, her own facade cracking. "I judged you for not wanting more from your career. I thought you were squandering your talent, but you're not. You're using it to provide for her." Marcus nodded slowly. "My father died when I was young. My mother worked 3 jobs to put me through school. She sacrificed every dream she ever had so I could have mine. When she was diagnosed, I made a promise. I would take care of her just as she took care of me. This job, with its predictable hours and good benefits, allows me to do that. Promotions would mean later nights, travel, stress. I can't give her fragments of my time. She deserves my presence." Olivia felt a lump form in her throat. "And dating?" Marcus's gaze drifted to the window, toward the direction of his home. "Years ago, I was engaged. Her name was Clara. She was wonderful and she tried. She really tried to understand. But caring for someone with a degenerative illness is a relentless tide. It washes away plans, spontaneity, the normal cadence of a relationship. Clara wanted a partner who could be fully hers, and I couldn't be that. I'd already given my heart to my mother. Letting Clara go was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was the only fair thing. So I made a choice. I don't date because I won't ask someone to share a life that is already spoken for. Not until..." His voice trailed off. "Not until her time is done." Olivia was silent, the weight of his sacrifice settling over her like a heavy cloak. She thought of her own life, driven by the need to prove her worth in boardrooms and balance sheets. She thought of her father, who had built this company but was now a distant figure in a retirement community. Their conversations limited to quarterly earnings. She had climbed so fiercely, but toward what? What love had she honored? What promise had she kept beyond the promise to her own ambition? "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry for prying, for judging." Marcus offered a small, sad smile. "Don't be. You asked a question most people are too polite to ask. Now you know." He glanced at his watch. "I need to go. Her physical therapist leaves at 6, and I like to be there for her evening routine." "Of course," Olivia said, stepping aside. As he walked away, she called after him. "Marcus," he paused, "the next time you need to leave early for an appointment, or if you ever need to work from home, just let me know. HR has flexibility policies. Use them. Consider it an executive order." For the first time, Olivia saw a genuine, unguarded warmth in his eyes. "Thank you, Miss Brennan. That means a great deal." After he left, Olivia returned to her office, but she didn't sit at her desk. She stood by the window, watching the city lights begin to twinkle in the dusk. The relentless drive that had always fueled her felt suddenly hollow. Marcus's story had exposed a different calculus of success, when measured in quiet hours at a bedside, in kept promises, in love expressed through duty. It was a love that didn't flourish in grand gestures, but in the daily, grinding faithfulness of showing up. Over the following weeks, Olivia made changes. She reviewed the company's caregiver support policies and strengthened them. She began to leave the office herself before 7, calling her father during her commute. Their conversations shifted from business to memories, to his garden, to books he was reading. She felt a part of herself, long neglected, begin to stir. One Friday evening, she found herself driving again to Marcus's neighborhood. She didn't stop, but she slowed as she passed his house. Through the living room window, she saw Marcus reading aloud, his mother listening with her eyes closed, a peaceful smile on her face. It was a portrait of a life rich in the only currency that ultimately mattered. Olivia drove home, her heart full of a new understanding. Love wasn't just a feeling, it was architecture. It was the building of a life around someone else's needs, the sacrifice of one dream to nurture another. Marcus had built a cathedral of care around his mother, and in doing so, he had found a purpose more profound than any title on a door. Olivia realized that her own climb was not over, but its direction had changed. She would still strive for excellence, but she would also strive for balance, for connection, for honoring the people who had built the ladder she stood upon. Marcus Reed had taught her that the most important promises are not the ones we make in boardrooms, but the ones we keep in the quiet of our own homes, and that was a lesson no performance report could ever quantify. The story of Marcus and Olivia reminds us that behind every routine, there may be a profound narrative of love and sacrifice. It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to offer kindness instead of judgment, and to remember that true success is often found in the commitments we honor outside the spotlight. If this story touched your heart, please support our channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing to Kindness True Stories for more content that explores the depth of human connection and the quiet heroes among us. Your support helps us share more tales of compassion and understanding in a world that deeply needs them. Thank you for watching, and remember to always choose kindness.